right, so this week we have a little tiny taillight made by Coso, and it's super bright, and it has a little LED for lighting up the taillight. And what I want to do is make kind of a box that encapsulates this so that we can mount the taillight onto the loop, and then we're going to cavity out the loop to hold the box. And then since this doesn't have turn signals, you know, it's way too narrow, we're going to use the Blaze Pin turn signals, but I want to do something with the shock mount so that we can use the turn signals to kind of hold on the shock, or at least look like they are. So we're going to have to make some custom shock mounts for that. But we'll see how far we get on the taillight today, and if we have time, we'll move on to the shock mounts.
To my tomorrows, shaking from my yesterday. Still waking up, still waking up, still waking up to today. Holding on to my tomorrows, shaking from my yesterday. Still waking up, still waking up, still waking up to today. Open up my eyes. Lately I can't see when everything's blind. That's when you're watching me. Open up my heart. Lately I don't care. Places falling apart. I don't wanna go there. Everything gets better when you are around. Everything gets better when you are around.
So now that we have the light fixture machine, we're going to give it a test fit. And this is really needed so we have a way to mount the light, and made it out of steel so we could weld it into the frame. So the bottom's open because we've got the license plate light there. And then it kind of matches the shape of the LED to protect it. Then on the side, this is going to match the kind of the profile of the loop. And then we made it as thick as we could so we could pop back all the way through the loop. Here at the bike, we are going to find center of the tube. So this should be, center should be 4.5 inches. This is probably going to get me pretty close, but we'll mark it from both sides. And then that way, then we'll split the difference on that. Putting a light mark on it. So I've marked the top of the part, and we want to go into there something like this, Not too kicked up, but just a little bit. And then I still want this to stick out below the loop. So this is going to be more or less just kind of a guide. I'm going to do the best I can to cut it out. I'm going to do the rough work first and then use the grinder to slowly work my way out to the edges and kind of test fit it as I go. So I don't want too much gap. You know, the closer I make the gap, the nicer this is going to look. Because I want this radius to match this radius, but I left myself like an 1/8 inch. So this arc here is 600 radius, where this tube is 500 radius, but we're on a curve, so hopefully we can match the arcs pretty good. I think the real challenge here is going to be making this line up on the other side and having the angle that I want. In hindsight, I should have just put this in the machine and cut it out. It would have been a lot easier. I don't want to untack it now because I've already kind of welded some spots pretty good, so we'll just roll with it. So now that I got it all notched out, I just kind of hold it in place with a ground clamp. You can see the notch isn't too bad and it goes all the way through so we can access the screws. I'm just going to tack it into place. This is our off-the-shelf shock mount kit. It includes 2 gussets and 2 stud sets. We've got some acorn nuts on here and a couple of washers. This is meant for applications just like this where you cut the back of the frame off and you need to get the shocks remounted somehow. I'm going to go through the mounting process But for the turn signals, I want to use these guys here. And those don't work with this because that's threaded. So I'm going to make a new setup, a new stud that removes this thread, and then this, we use this instead. The issue is that these are directional. So we have to kind of figure out a way so that we know which way they're going to end up once we lock it down. You know, I can't just use it like a normal bolt because I do have to face it in a direction. So it's not going to be the actual part that replaces the acorn nut here. It's just going to be kind of threaded in, and then we'll have to figure out another way to actually tie or to hold down the shock mount. To get the wire out, I don't want the wire just to come out the back because it is visible from the back of the bike. So what I'm going to try and do is drill a hole in the stud down to here somewhere and then pop out, and then I'll have to do the same to this guy and drill up through this way and then into the tube. I don't know yet if the juice is worth the squeeze, but I'm going to give it a shot. If all else fails, I have a couple holes in here that aren't used for anything. I'm going to give it a shot because I think it'd be pretty cool. I've thought about it for a long time. I've just never done it because these guys are pretty cool turn signals. So this is the gusset. When this was originally designed, I designed it around a CB650, so these angles are pretty much the same. You can see it fits up pretty darn close. And the way that I mount these is I put a piece of tube through here, running through both ends, so that I know that the gussets are straight. And then I just clamp it up here after I get these guys centered, after I get the gussets centered where I want them on the tube. And then we just clamp it, hold it, and that keeps these things straight. The hole I'm going to drill is going to be right here, and it's going to go into the tube. So I'm going to drill this gusset into the tube, and then I'm going to make a new stud and drill a hole out the side to line up, and the turn signals will run up through here and into this tube. These are the new shock mount studs, and what I decided to do is go ahead and blow the hole all the way through for the wire, and then this is the gusset, and that all lines up and goes through. And I decided to put the hole all the way through so once it's mounted to the bike, I can, you know, if I'm misaligned, I'll put something in there to keep the orientation right so it doesn't rotate on me. But then once it's finished and welded up, I can just run the drill back through both of these parts and put the hole into the frame. So I don't have a little hole leading into the frame. I'm gonna tap this and put probably a set screw in it just so you can't see. You know, I don't have a screw head sticking out. It's just a set screw down in there, so it all lines up flush and it's not real noticeable. But then this is the LED that we want to run as a turn signal, and so that'll fish through here. And to it'll make it a lot easier to run this wire later into the frame if I have an access hole coming from the bottom. You know, I don't have to just get lucky. I can, like, even testing it, one of the wires went the other way. So once it's on the bike, we can just, you know, give it a little tap and push the wires through if needed. But this will feed through here like this. And then this will screw down in there. And then we'll run the wire out into the frame, and then this will go into the M unit. This portion right here is threaded, and I'm going to make like a little aluminum kind of washer looking nut, just something that's nice and smooth to actually hold it on, that you won't, but it'll just look like a washer, because this turn signal is it's made out of aluminum, you know, so it's not the most sturdy thing, but you know, you don't really see load on the shock in that direction anyway, so it's not a huge deal. But just to be safe, I went ahead and threaded this, and so the other piece will thread onto here, and then this, you know, these are directional, so what I'm going to have to do is shave down the washer to where it sets it just right, so that I have them in the right direction. So that'll be something to play with, but I'm not too concerned about it. You know, if it's out too far, I need to rotate it a little more, I'll just shave off some of that washer and get it to thread in a little further. So not a big deal, but that's the plan for this. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and mount this up to the frame and get it all tacked in place. You just want to make sure, well, I just want to make sure that I have these holes facing up so that I can actually put so the wire goes into the right tube. I'm just going to use a clamp to snug it up. So now I've got it kind of snugged up there. I'm just going to use a little gauge to make sure that I have them evenly spaced so that they're centered on the tubes. Now I already knew what this dimension was going to be because I measured the old gussets before I took them off. And you want to make sure that you do that so that you put the shocks back into the right place. On the normal kit that we sell, this piece here, it doesn't have a stop. This does not have a stop, so you've got some adjustability for when you mount it. You know, we make this end portion a little bit longer so that you do have that adjustment. But because I knew all my spacing, I went ahead and put a little lip on it, so it's a short stop for me. Just a little, you know, advantage of being able to make this stuff as I need it. And this would be a lot easier if I had an extra hand. So you can see my little hole there. Once it's all put together and the shock's right there, you're definitely not going to notice that hole. So you can see it's not dead center with the tube. And the reason for that is you're kind of trying to find a happy medium between both of the tubes. So, you know, this one's at an angle and this one's straight. So you're kind of shooting for something in between, and then whatever gap there is, put a nice fillet or a nice fill weld will clean that up really nice. So now we're ready to tack it all in place.